Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. I recently read an article online that reinforced many of the points I made in later chapters of my book, The Man Crisis. And the Man Crisis, it looks like, is going to have an impact on the country overall, because if we continue to have this man crisis, we are not going to have qualified, capable men who will be able to go out and protect this country in the case of a war or a military conflict, because America's youth are becoming too obese or just too dumb to join the United States military. Now, this article on the Tax Purpose website states that a large majority of America's men are just not fit for military service, and a good 3/4 of American men are just too heavy to go out here and qualify for military service, while another significant group of American men would not even qualify to even pass the aptitude test that would allow them to serve in the armed services. So when it comes down to the men we have been breeding for the last 2 to 3 generations, 3/4 of those men just aren't fit for military service or active duty, either due to the obesity that has been plaguing the American male population, or they wouldn't be able to pass the aptitude test because so many of America's men just don't know how to get the basic skills in our failing public schools, which have done an incredibly poor job of educating boys to be able to function at the most basic levels, because our public school systems are gynocentric institutions, and because they are gynocentric institutions, they are more focused on developing women, and they always go out of their way to punish and penalize boys by many female teachers doing things like targeting young boys, saying that they have behavior issues, and then them being referred to people like your specialist who give them medicines like Ritalin, Focalin, and many others, saying that these boys have ADHD and a whole host of other issues, when in actuality, these boys don't need these medications, which wind up stimulating their brains to the point where they crash. All they need is some hard and consistent discipline from 2 healthy parents. That's all most boys need. Unfortunately, because we have a gynocentric education system which wants submissive, obedient boys, what is happening is these boys' development is being hindered at an early age, and because those boys' development are being hindered at an early age, what is happening is we are not developing the kind of boys who can grow up to become men who will go out here and do things like serve their country in our armed services, or be fit enough to go out here and serve their country. Because when it comes down to most boys, the things that would keep them fit, like recess and gym class, many of our public schools have cut those programs and cut those classes due to people being concerned about bullying and being concerned about children's safety. We have made these boys so soft that our American military can't use any of those boys as when they grow up to become men to serve in the armed services. And many of those boys who are coming through the public school systems, what is happening is that they're also so dumb that they can't even pass the basic aptitude tests that the military needs people to take in order to qualify for military service. Now, what most military branches need, they usually make you take an aptitude test to see if you could qualify for military service, and your average American high school graduate can't even pass the exam to qualify for our Army, our Navy, our Air Force, or our Marines. And that is a very troubling picture when you think about it, because if we cannot find males to go out here and be the type of men who can serve our country and defend America's interests, then America is going to be extremely vulnerable in the future. Because when it comes down to your beta males are too emotional to put on the front lines of the military or go out here and perform tactical missions, because your beta male is just too emotional, and your beta male has a problem following the lead of male authority figures. And that's because your beta male grew up in an environment with female authority figures, and he has learned how to submit to female authority. That leads to an individual who would become a problem for America's military, an individual who would compromise missions as related to combat and missions as related to diplomatic missions that officers have to participate in with the executive branch of the United States, and diplomatic missions like those with the State Department or other military organizations. All of this would wind up being compromised, because a beta male would wind up getting in his feelings, and in the worst case, he could either do something to cause an international incident, or he could cause an accident, or he could even wind up turning on his fellow officers or fellow soldiers in a combat situation, because this man just can't handle pressure, this man just can't handle stress, and this is why these males just aren't qualified for military service, and this is why these males just aren't fit for military duty. Now, the other big problem for the U.S. military in the future are the second and third generation offspring of the beta male. The second one, which is your omega male, this is a male who just is so weak and emasculated, he cannot do anything for himself, and this is a person who could not be of any value to the U.S. military in any way, shape, or form. And even worse than the omega male is your soy boy, which is a male who has so many feminine traits that he literally is just a female with a penis, and he has such low testosterone and so caught up in his feelings that he is of no earthly good to our United States military in a combat situation. So what we have right now is a major man crisis here in the United States as related to our military. And if we are not able to go out here and find qualified people to replace many of our aging soldiers and many of our veterans who have gone and served their duty, we're going to be very vulnerable to our enemies in the future. And many of the feminists who wanted to socially engineer this kinder, gentler, softer male, they didn't see the big picture as related to what they were doing when they tried to socially engineer this beta male. Now, they thought if they socially engineered this beta male that they would be able to build a utopia, but the irony is they have weakened the United States of America by breeding these softer males who have proven incapable of even meeting the basic standards of our United States military. These men who your feminists want to breed and have bred over 3 generations in these single mother households, these men are leading to a crisis in our country, because if these men are not fit for military duty, then there's no way they can go out of their way to protect the country. In most cases, many of these men can't even protect their own communities, which is why many of their communities are controlled by groups like gangs and thugs, and why their communities are literally in shambles, because when it comes down to the beta male, all he knows how to do is submit to women, and he does not know how to take the lead like a man the way a member of our United States military would know how to take the lead in a command situation. And that's only because those men who are in the military, a lot of them have fathers in their lives, and a lot of them have male life skills and male survival skills, and those who don't learn them from men in the military who teach them the order of things as related to men in service. So those men can learn things, but today's beta males, they are out here and they're just not able to do these things. And again, we have more and more men. We have 3/4 of these men unable to qualify for military service because they are either overweight or they are just not academically literate enough to even pass the basic military exams. And these exams are usually probably about 7th or 8th grade education. And many of these males just can't learn the basic skills that will allow them to have a basic service in the military. And that's really troubling, again, because it shows that American women are doing a poor job of raising boys into men, doing a poor job of preparing boys for manhood, and preparing boys to survive in the world of men. Because when you have males out here who cannot pass the basic skills of the military, which is considered for many people something that if you can't go to college, you should be able to do, then we have raised a group of men who are good for nothing. And when I take a look at these beta males out here, I often think about what Jesus said about salt. And if salt is not good for seasoning, it's just thrown to the ground and trampled on. And when it comes down to America's beta males, omega males, and soy boys, we have not done a good job of salting those men so that they can be seasoned and be able to go out here and be salt of the earth men who can go out here and change the flavor of their communities, change the flavor of their society, and change their communities in a way where those communities are transformed by these salt of the earth men. Because these men have no seasoning, what they are is just cast to the ground, and that's what we've got. It's a bunch of males who are cast to the ground and will probably wind up getting trampled in a combat situation because many of these males are too soft, many of these men are too weak, many of these men have no backbone, many of these men never learn discipline, many of these men never learn resolve, and they are good for nothing because they have not been salted and seasoned by the father in the home or the men in the community. And this is something that your feminists never understood about the role of the father back in the 60s, that the father, his job was to prepare the boy to be a man. His job was to salt and season that boy by teaching him intangible skills as related to manhood, and those skills were life skills that would prepare him to go out into the world, prepare him to take the lead in his life, and prepare him to survive in the world on his own. Feminists thought a woman could go out here and raise a boy to be a man, but from what I read in this article, it's clear to me that your women are raising boys who are growing up more and more unhealthy and more unprepared for the world of men and unprepared for serving and protecting the country that they live in. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box, or you can donate via PayPal by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to learn more about why America is in crisis, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback, or you can pick it up in Kindle format or on other e-reader platforms like Smashwords, Barnes & Noble, and the iBookstore. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Esteemed Goddess of. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a demonic dominatrix in this action-packed all-new Esteemed series adventure. Get Esteemed Goddess of in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.